John Miller looked at the strange readings on his screen again. As supervisor of Mining Station Europa 7, he had seen many odd things in deep space, but nothing like this. The energy spikes appeared and disappeared in patterns that made no sense. "Lisa, can you check these readings?" John called to his colleague. Lisa Wright walked over and studied the screen. Her job as an exobiologist mostly involved studying microbes found in Europa's ice, but her training included identifying potential signs of extraterrestrial life. "That's not equipment failure," she said after a minute. "Those patterns match theoretical models of advanced propulsion systems. We should report this." John nodded and sent the data to Earth. The response came 12 hours later. NASA and the United Space Coalition dismissed their concerns. The official reply called it sensor anomalies due to radiation interference. Lisa disagreed but could not convince the authorities to investigate further. 3 weeks later, the first Vexthar ships entered the solar system. They bypassed the outer planets quickly, heading straight for Mars. The Red Planet hosted humanity's largest off-Earth colony with nearly 10,000 people. The attack came without warning. No communication attempts, no demands, just silent ships descending on the Mars Central Colony. Earth's military forces stationed there scrambled to respond, but their weapons seemed useless against the alien vessels. Sam Bennett, a Marine stationed at Olympus Base, watched in horror as strange beings moved through the colony. They were tall, with mottled skin that changed colors to match their surroundings. They wore armor that deflected bullets and carried weapons that paralyzed humans instantly. "They're not killing everyone," Sam whispered into his comm unit as he hid behind a storage container. "They're taking people. Living people." The aliens moved with purpose, selecting certain humans and ignoring others. They avoided the very old and very young, focusing on healthy adults. Within hours, they had taken nearly 300 colonists. Earth governments tried to establish contact. They sent messages in every format scientists could devise. The aliens never responded. 3 days later, they hit settlements on Earth's moon, taking another 200 people. "They're hunting us," Lisa told John as they watched news feeds from their station on Europa. "This isn't about resources or territory. They're collecting specimens." The first attack on Earth came 1 week later. Small ships entered the atmosphere over rural areas in North America, Australia, and Eastern Europe. They struck isolated communities, taking dozens of people before disappearing. Global panic followed. Military forces worldwide mobilized, but their weapons proved largely ineffective. Conventional missiles couldn't lock onto the alien ships. Fighter jets that got too close were disabled by unknown energy fields. 1 month after first contact, the aliens had taken nearly 5,000 humans from across the solar system. No one knew where they were being taken or why. Hope came from an unexpected source. A small research station in northern Canada managed to capture images of the aliens without their armor. The pictures showed a species with physical features reminiscent of Earth's predatory animals: forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, and powerful limbs. Their skin could change color and texture, perfect for stalking prey. "They're hunters," announced Dr. Frank Adams, xenobiologist at the Global Response Center. "Everything about their behavior suggests they see us as game animals." This theory gained support when the aliens began leaving behind the bodies of some captives. The remains showed precise removal of specific body parts, similar to how human hunters might take trophies from prized kills. Earth's military leaders realized they weren't fighting an invasion force. They were fighting sport hunters with vastly superior technology. The Vexthar, a name taken from symbols on their ships, showed no interest in Earth's resources or territory. They wanted only one thing: humans. By the end of the first 3 months, Earth's nations united under a single defense protocol. Space colonies were evacuated where possible. Those that couldn't be evacuated built hidden shelters deep within moons and asteroids. On Earth, people began moving underground, into bunkers and subway systems. The surface became hunting grounds for the aliens that humans now simply called hunters. The prey was learning to hide. But some, like Sam Bennett, who had escaped Mars and returned to Earth, began asking a different question. Could the prey learn to fight back? 6 months passed since the first alien ships entered Earth's solar system. The world had changed. Cities once filled with millions now stood nearly empty. Humans had gone underground, hiding in subway tunnels, old mines, and hastily built bunkers. Kate Lawson sat in a dim room deep beneath what used to be Chicago. Screens surrounded her, showing reports from survivor outposts around the world. As a former military intelligence analyst, she had been tasked with understanding the enemy. They hunt in patterns, she explained to the small group of leaders gathered around her. They prefer healthy adults. They avoid areas they've already visited for about 3 months. And they never, ever respond to attempts at communication. General Ryan nodded. So they're not here to talk. They're not here for our resources. They're just here for us. Exactly, Kate said. They're predators, and we're their game. The most valuable information had come from Alan Parker, an engineer who had managed the impossible, escape from a hunter vessel. His ship had been taking samples from the lunar colony when the hunters attacked. They had captured him and 15 others, placing them in separate cells aboard their ship. Ellen described how the aliens had examined each human carefully, marking some with colored symbols on their skin. Later, those marked were taken away. He never saw them again. His turn would have come if not for a momentary power fluctuation that disabled the force field to his cell. Their ship was huge inside, Alan told Kate during his debriefing. I hid for days watching them. They have rooms filled with trophies, parts of humans preserved somehow. They treat them like prizes. What disturbed Kate most was Alan's description of the hunters talking to each other. They make these clicking sounds, but sometimes they laugh. Actually laugh while looking at their trophies. This is entertainment for them. Earth's unified defense forces had suffered devastating losses in orbit. The few military satellites remaining showed at least 30 large hunter ships circling the planet, with smaller craft making regular trips to the surface. Direct attacks had proven useless. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky, tanks and artillery destroyed before they could fire. The hunters' technology was simply too advanced. But humans were learning. They were adapting. The first breakthrough came from Dr. Rick Ellis, working in a makeshift lab in the Rocky Mountains. He discovered that the hunters tracked humans primarily through body heat and specific pheromones in human sweat. They can smell our fear, he explained over the secure communication network. Literally, when humans feel afraid, we release distinct chemicals through our skin. Their sensors are specifically tuned to detect these. This knowledge led to the development of masking compounds, chemicals that blocked human sense signatures. They weren't perfect, but they helped small groups move above ground without immediate detection. Sam Bennett, now leading a small resistance cell in what was once Arizona, put this knowledge to use. His team covered themselves in the masking compound and ventured to the surface to gather supplies from abandoned stores and warehouses. Stay low, stay quiet, stay cool, Sam reminded his people. They wore thermal dampening suits made from emergency blankets and cooling packs. The suits helped hide their body heat from hunter scanners. During one such mission, Sam's team witnessed a hunter taking down a lone human who had not used any masking techniques. The alien moved with frightening speed, paralyzing the man with some kind of energy weapon before carrying him back to a small craft. The hunter never noticed Sam's team watching from nearby. This was their first close observation of the enemy on the hunt. They enjoy it, Sam reported back to Kate over the secure line. The one we saw literally stood there for a moment, just looking at its prey before taking it, like it was savoring the moment. Kate added this information to her growing database. Hunting wasn't just their purpose. It was their passion, their culture. By understanding the hunters' behaviors and limitations, humans were learning to hide more effectively. But hiding wouldn't be enough forever. In underground facilities around the world, scientists and engineers worked frantically to study any piece of hunter technology they could salvage. They needed to find weaknesses. They needed weapons. The prey was learning about its predator, and knowledge was the first step towards something more important: resistance. 1 year had passed since the hunters first came to Earth. The world above ground belonged to them now. Cities stood empty and silent. Nature began to reclaim streets and buildings. Animals roamed freely through abandoned neighborhoods. But beneath the surface, humanity survived. Olivia Grant walked through the narrow tunnels that had once been Chicago's subway system. Now these tunnels were home to over 5,000 people. Similar underground communities existed in cities across the world, connected by old sewer systems and newly dug passages. "We've come a long way in a year," she said to the group of new arrivals she was guiding. "We have power from hidden generators. We grow food using special lights. We even have a school for the children." The newcomers looked around with wide eyes. They had been hiding in the countryside until hunters had discovered their small community. Only 12 of their original 30 had made it to Chicago. "How do you keep them from finding you?" asked a woman holding a small child. "We've learned their ways," Olivia explained. "Jack, our chief scientist, can show you better than I can explain." She led them to a large chamber that had once been a train platform. Now it served as a laboratory. Jack Collins, who had been a chemistry professor before the invasion, stood among tables covered with equipment and strange-smelling liquids. "Welcome," he said to the newcomers. "First rule of survival: mask your scent." He handed each person a small jar of greenish paste. "Apply this to your skin twice daily. It blocks the chemicals in your sweat that their sensors detect. It's not perfect, but it helps." Jack had made the breakthrough 6 months earlier when he discovered that certain combinations of plant compounds and minerals could mask human biosignatures. The paste smelled terrible, but had saved countless lives. "Second rule," Jack continued, "control your heat signature." He showed them simple vests lined with a special material that dispersed body heat. "Wear these when you need to go above ground." Olivia watched as the newcomers learned the basics of underground life. The education process was now efficient after months of practice. Everyone had jobs. Everyone contributed. Humanity was adapting. Later that day, Olivia joined a meeting with the community leaders. They gathered around a table made from an old subway sign, studying maps of the city above. "We need medicine," said Maria, the head doctor. "The supplies from the hospital raid last month are almost gone." Ben, who led the surface scouts, pointed to a location on the map. "There's a pharmacy warehouse here that might still have what we need. My team can try tomorrow night." Olivia nodded. "Use the new route through the storm drains. Hunters were spotted near the old entrance last week." These planning sessions happened daily. Each trip to the surface was carefully organized to minimize risk. The success rate had improved dramatically as they learned more about hunter patterns. As the meeting ended, a runner arrived with news from the communications center. The old copper telephone wires that the hunters ignored had become humanity's secret network, connecting underground communities across the continent. "Boston team reports success," the runner announced excitedly. "They ambushed a lone hunter. It's dead." The room fell silent. This was unprecedented news. "How?" Olivia finally asked. "They used the sonic disruptors Dr. Wilson developed. Apparently, they worked better than expected. Boston team recovered the hunter's weapons and armor." This was a turning point. For a year, humans had been hiding, running, struggling to survive. Now, for the first time, they had fought back and won. The news spread quickly through the tunnels. People who had lived in constant fear began to feel something new: hope. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with possibilities. If one hunter could be killed, others could too. If their technology could be taken and studied, perhaps it could be used against them. The hunters had spent a year seeing humans as nothing but prey. They had never faced serious resistance from any species they had hunted before. They were about to learn that humans were different. In the darkness of her small room, Olivia smiled. The prey was learning to fight back. 2 years into the war with the hunters, Humans had moved beyond simply hiding. In secret facilities around the world, scientists worked to understand the enemy. Dr. Paul Wilson stood in his underground laboratory in the Rocky Mountains. Once this facility had been a military bunker. Now it was the main research center for hunter technology and biology. "Show me the results again," Paul said to his team. Linda Martinez adjusted her glasses and pointed to the screen. As a sound engineer, she had made an important discovery about the hunters. When we play these specific frequencies, their inner ear structure becomes disrupted, she explained. It causes them pain and confusion. It's like extreme vertigo for them. On a nearby table lay parts of a hunter body. After Boston's success, other communities had managed to kill hunters too. This specimen had been brought to the lab 3 weeks ago. Their hearing is far more sensitive than ours, Paul noted. They evolved as perfect predators. But that sensitivity is now a weakness we can exploit. The team had been studying hunter biology for months. They learned that hunters came from a world with higher gravity than Earth. This gave them incredible strength, but also meant they tired quickly in sustained combat. Paul moved to another section of the lab where hunter weapons and armor were being studied. The technology was decades ahead of anything humans had created. "Have we figured out how their armor works?" he asked Gary, the materials scientist. Gary nodded. "It's not actually very thick. It uses some kind of energy field to deflect impacts. But the field has limits. If we hit it with enough force in a concentrated area, it fails." This knowledge had led to the development of special ammunition. Regular bullets couldn't penetrate hunter armor, but modified rounds that focused energy in a single point could break through. In another room, hunter communication devices were being analyzed. Experts had discovered that hunters communicated across vast distances using technology similar to quantum entanglement. "They're talking about us," said Nora, the communication specialist. "Based on what we've decoded, they're confused by our resistance." She showed Paul the translated messages. The hunters had a complex language, but their discussion about humans was clear. They hadn't expected prey to fight back effectively. In all their history of hunting other species, they had never encountered this problem. One message was particularly interesting. "The Earth prey adapts too quickly. They learn our methods and develop countermeasures. This hunt becomes dangerous." Paul smiled at this. "They're starting to fear us." Later that day, Paul joined a video conference with leaders from other human settlements. The old internet was gone, but a new secure network had been established using buried fiber optic cables that didn't emit signals the hunters could detect. "We've distributed the sonic disruptor designs to manufacturing cells in 12 regions," Paul reported. "Production of the modified ammunition is also underway." Sam Bennett, now a resistance commander, appeared on one screen. "My teams have successfully used the sonic weapons. They work even better than expected. We've taken down 3 hunters in the past week." Kate Lawson joined from her intelligence center. "Hunter activity is changing. They're moving in larger groups now. They're becoming cautious. They're learning that we're dangerous." Olivia Grant's face appeared on another screen. "Chicago team recovered a hunter scout ship last night. It's small but intact. We're sending it to your facility, Dr. Wilson." This was huge news. Until now, they had only captured pieces of hunter technology. A complete ship would provide invaluable insights. As the meeting ended, Paul looked at his team. 2 years ago, they came here thinking we were just animals to be hunted. They thought this would be easy. He pointed to the hunter communication logs on the screen. Now they're worried. Now they're the ones who are afraid. Outside the lab, through layers of rock and security systems, hunter ships still patrolled Earth's skies. But the hunters had become the hunted. They just didn't know it yet. 2 years into the war with the hunters, humans had moved beyond simply hiding. In secret facilities around the world, scientists worked to understand the enemy. Dr. Paul Wilson stood in his underground laboratory in the Rocky Mountains. Once this facility had been a military bunker. Now it was the main research center for hunter technology and biology. "Show me the results again," Paul said to his team. Linda Martinez adjusted her glasses and pointed to the screen. As a sound engineer, she had made an important discovery about the hunters. When we play these specific frequencies, their inner ear structure becomes disrupted, she explained. It causes them pain and confusion. It's like extreme vertigo for them. On a nearby table lay parts of a hunter body. After Boston's success, other communities had managed to kill hunters too. This specimen had been brought to the lab 3 weeks ago. Their hearing is far more sensitive than ours, Paul noted. They evolved as perfect predators. But that sensitivity is now a weakness we can exploit. The team had been studying hunter biology for months. They learned that hunters came from a world with higher gravity than Earth. This gave them incredible strength, but also meant they tired quickly in sustained combat. Paul moved to another section of the lab where hunter weapons and armor were being studied. The technology was decades ahead of anything humans had created. Have we figured out how their armor works? He asked Gary, the materials scientist. Gary nodded. It's not actually very thick. It uses some kind of energy field to deflect impacts. But the field has limits. If we hit it with enough force in a concentrated area, it fails. This knowledge had led to the development of special ammunition. Regular bullets couldn't penetrate hunter armor, but modified rounds that focused energy in a single point could break through. In another room, hunter communication devices were being analyzed. Experts had discovered that hunters communicated across vast distances using technology similar to quantum entanglement. They're talking about us, said Nora, the communication specialist. Based on what we've decoded, they're confused by our resistance. She showed Paul the translated messages. The hunters had a complex language, but their discussion about humans was clear. They hadn't expected prey to fight back effectively. In all their history of hunting other species, they had never encountered this problem. One message was particularly interesting. The Earth prey adapts too quickly. They learn our methods and develop countermeasures. This hunt becomes dangerous. Paul smiled at this. They're starting to fear us. Later that day, Paul joined a video conference with leaders from other human settlements. The old internet was gone, but a new secure network had been established using buried fiber optic cables that didn't emit signals the hunters could detect. We've distributed the sonic disruptor designs to manufacturing cells in 12 regions, Hall reported. Production of the modified ammunition is also underway. Sam Bennett, now a resistance commander, appeared on one screen. My teams have successfully used the sonic weapons. They work even better than expected. We've taken down 3 hunters in the past week. Kate Lawson joined from her intelligence center. Hunter activity is changing. They're moving in larger groups now. They're becoming cautious. They're learning that we're dangerous. Olivia Grant's face appeared on another screen. Chicago team recovered a hunter scout ship last night. It's small but intact. We're sending it to your facility, Dr. Wilson. This was huge news. Until now, they had only captured pieces of hunter technology. A complete ship would provide invaluable insights. As the meeting ended, Paul looked at his team. 2 years ago, they came here thinking we were just animals to be hunted. They thought this would be easy. He pointed to the hunter communication logs on the screen. Now they're worried. Now they're the ones who are afraid. Outside the lab, through layers of rock and security systems, hunter ships still patrolled Earth's skies. But the hunters had become the hunted. They just didn't know it yet. 4 years into the war, humans had mastered several alien technologies. The underground factories worked day and night, producing weapons and equipment based on hunter designs. Training centers prepared fighters for space combat. The prey had become dangerous. Carol Davis stood on the bridge of the Defiance, the first hunter ship completely controlled by humans. Once a mid-sized hunter vessel, it had been captured in a daring raid 6 months ago. Now it was the flagship of humanity's small but growing space fleet. All systems ready, Captain, reported her second-in-command, Bill Harris. Carol nodded. Take us up. The ship rose silently from its hidden hangar in the Arizona desert. 5 other converted hunter ships joined them in formation. Each carried 20 elite fighters and was armed with weapons reverse-engineered from hunter technology. Their mission was bold: attack a major hunter command ship in orbit around Earth. "Remember," Carol told her crew, "we look like a hunter patrol returning from the surface. Maintain radio silence until we're in position." The human fleet had learned to mimic hunter flight patterns and signal codes. As they approached orbit, hunter security paid them little attention. The deception was working. On the main screen, they could see their target. The hunter command ship was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Defiance. It coordinated all hunting activities in the North American sector. "Weapons hot," Carol ordered as they came within range. "Target their engine section and communication arrays." The 6 human ships launched their attack simultaneously. The hunter command ship, caught completely by surprise, had no time to raise shields. The first volley of missiles struck with devastating effect. "Direct hits," Bill reported. "Their main power is fluctuating." The hunter ship tried to respond, launching fighter craft and returning fire. But the human ships were already executing evasive maneuvers they had practiced for months. "Second wave, now," Carol commanded. Another barrage of missiles struck the command ship. Explosions bloomed along its hull. The human crews cheered as sections of the hunter vessel went dark. "They're sending distress signals," the communications officer reported. Carol smiled. "Good. Let them call for help. By the time it arrives, we'll be long gone." The human ships continued their attack, systematically destroying the hunter vessel's key systems. They had studied hunter ship design carefully, learning where to strike for maximum effect. After 20 minutes, the command ship was crippled, drifting in orbit with most systems offline. Carol gave the order to board. "Strike teams, move in. Remember, the priority is data and prisoners." 3 teams of human fighters docked with the damaged hunter ship. Using sonic weapons and modified armor, they fought their way to the command center. The hunters, disoriented by the sonic attacks, couldn't mount an effective defense. In the command center, the humans found something unexpected. The hunter captain was still alive, surrounded by dead crew members. It stared at the human boarders with what seemed like shock. "Secure it," ordered Roy, the strike team leader. "Dr. Wilson will want to question this one." The captured hunter was the highest-ranking alien taken alive since the war began. Its knowledge could be invaluable. The humans downloaded the ship's data cores and took samples of its advanced technology. Then they planted charges throughout the vessel and returned to their ships. As the human fleet moved away, the hunter command ship exploded behind them, a bright flash visible from Earth's surface. "Mission complete," Carol announced to her crew. "Set course for home." Word of the successful attack spread quickly through human settlements. The victory boosted morale and proved that humans could take the fight to the enemy. But the war was far from over. The hunter reinforcement fleet was still coming, now only 4 months away. In his Rocky Mountain laboratory, Dr. Wilson interrogated the captured hunter captain. The alien was resistant at first, but human scientists had developed drugs that affected hunter brain chemistry. "Why do you hunt us?" Dr. Wilson asked through a translator. The hunter's answer was revealing. In their society, status came from hunting dangerous prey. Humans had proven to be the most dangerous prey they had ever encountered. "You fight like no prey before," the hunter admitted. "Our warriors now respect humans." Dr. Wilson leaned forward. "Tell me about the reinforcement fleet." What the hunter revealed next would change the course of the war. 5 years had passed since the hunters first arrived on Earth. The reinforcement fleet had come as expected, but they found a very different situation than they had anticipated. Greg Johnson stood on the bridge of the Retribution, once a hunter warship and now the flagship of humanity's defense fleet. 20 such ships now orbited Earth, all captured and converted to human use. Each was armed with weapons based on hunter technology, but improved by human innovation. "Hunter fleet approaching," announced the sensor officer. 47 ships total. Greg nodded calmly. "Send the message." The communications officer transmitted a message in the Hunter language directly to the approaching fleet. It was a simple message. "This territory is claimed by humans. Any vessel entering Earth's space will be destroyed." 5 years ago, such a threat would have been laughable. Now it carried weight. The Hunter fleet slowed its approach. On the main screen, Greg could see them forming a defensive pattern. They had expected to find struggling prey. Instead, they faced organized resistance. "They're responding," said the communications officer. The message from the Hunter commander was translated by their systems. "We claim hunting rights to this world by ancient tradition. Stand down or be eliminated." Greg smiled. "Show them our response." At his command, 300 orbital platforms activated around Earth. These platforms, built using Hunter technology, carried powerful energy weapons. They had been hidden until this moment, a surprise for any invading force. "Platforms targeting lead Hunter vessels," reported the weapons officer. "Fire," Greg ordered. The platforms fired simultaneously. 5 Hunter ships exploded instantly. The rest broke formation, clearly surprised by the attack. "Now the ships," Greg commanded. The human fleet opened fire. They had studied Hunter battle tactics for years and knew their weaknesses. The battle was fierce but one-sided. Hunter ships fell one after another. After 20 minutes, the Hunter commander sent another message. "We request ceasefire. We wish to communicate." For the first time, in the 5-year war, the Hunters were asking to talk. 2 days later, Greg sat in a specially prepared room aboard the Retribution. Across from him was the Hunter fleet commander, a large alien with scars across its mottled skin. Dr. Wilson had explained that in Hunter culture, scars were marks of honor, showing survival against dangerous prey. This Hunter had many such marks. "Your species has surprised us," the Hunter commander said through a translator. "No prey has ever become predator before." Greg kept his face neutral. "We were never just prey. You made a mistake seeing us that way." The Hunter made a gesture that Dr. Wilson had identified as acknowledgement. "A costly mistake. We have lost more Hunters to your world than in our last 50 hunting grounds combined." The negotiations were brief but significant. The Hunters, pragmatic despite their predatory nature, recognized the changing situation. Hunting humans had become too costly. "We offer territory boundaries," the Hunter proposed. "Your solar system will be marked as sovereign territory, not hunting grounds." Greg had been authorized to accept such terms, but he pushed for more. "We want information about other species you hunt, and we want access to your star maps." The Hunter hesitated, but eventually agreed. This too was part of their culture, respect for a worthy opponent. 1 month later, the first human delegation left for the stars. Their mission, to contact other species that had suffered from Hunter predation. Greg led the expedition in a ship built with a combination of human and Hunter technology. Their first stop was a world whose inhabitants had been hunted for generations. The locals were shocked to meet humans, creatures who had fought the Hunters and won. An alliance began to form among former prey species. Humans provided leadership and tactical knowledge. Other species contributed their own unique technologies and knowledge of the galaxy. In the Grand Hall of the Hunter homeworld, a special display was added to their trophy collection. It showed human artifacts, but not as trophies taken from prey. These were gifts exchanged between equals. The Hunter language added a new term for humans. The closest translation was "the prey that hunts back." It was not an insult but a title of respect. 5 years after they came to Earth looking for easy hunting, the Hunters had learned a powerful lesson. Not everything that appears to be prey truly is. Sometimes, the prey fights back. Sometimes, the prey wins.